Hey, it's Kyle from Mogul Web Design. And while this subject might not be the most entertaining, if you own or manage a website, it is the most important. Today, I'm joined by Hans from Termageddon to talk about data privacy and why your website, realize it or not, must comply with data privacy laws. So, hello, Hans. Thanks so much for joining me today. And first, let me ask you, what is the purpose of privacy policy and terms of service?
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for having me on the show. A privacy policy discloses what information a website collects and with whom that information is shared with. It is required by law already in 4 states in America, and there's 14, at the moment we're recording this, there's 14 states that have proposed privacy laws. So it tells visitors of your website what you do with the data that they submit on your website. A terms of service, otherwise known as a terms and conditions statement, sets the rules for a website. So maybe you offer links to third-party websites, well, like Facebook or Twitter. That's a great example of wanting to provide a terms and conditions where it states, hey, we provide links to third-party websites, but we don't control those websites. So you can't sue us if you click that link and you get to a hacked website and then you get hacked. We're not responsible for that if that happens, because we don't have any control of that. Another great reason for terms and conditions is what's called a DMCA notice. And what this is maybe you are unknowingly using copywritten images or text. With a DMCA notice, it says more or less, hey, if we're using copywritten images and it's your property, that is unintentional and we will immediately remove it. Here's our contact information to have us do that. A DMCA notice can create a safe harbor for a business, protecting you from potentially being sued.
Yeah, and all that is extremely important if you own a website. But a lot of small businesses might wonder if they really need one. So who needs to have a privacy policy on their website?
Anyone that collects information on their website, personal information. So a good example is if you have a contact form on your website. A contact form is a fantastic lead generator for businesses, but that's a great example of when a company, no matter what their size, are collecting what's called personally identifiable information. Another great example is newsletter signups. E-commerce, if you transact through your website. And another great example is Google Analytics, where you're tracking the behavior of a visitor on your website. Yet again, amazing tools to help your business grow and to understand how to improve your website. And simply, you just nowadays need to disclose a privacy policy. And yes, a lot of people are like, well, I only hear about Facebook or Google getting sued, and I only hear about the big ones. That's because that's what news talks about, the big ones, the ones where people are getting sued for hundreds of millions or bajillion dollars, whatever. The fact is, though, privacy laws are entering into America on a state-by-state basis. And if you have a contact form and you get inquiries across state lines, you not only have to operate on a state level with the state you're located in, but you have to you have to comply with all the privacy laws with where you're collecting information from. Privacy laws do not care about where a business is located. They only care about protecting their citizens. So if you get inquiries across state lines, you not only need a privacy policy, you need a strategy to keep it up to date over time.
Yeah. And so what are some of the consequences if you don't have a privacy policy? I'm sure people are starting to figure out by now that they really need one, but what are they at risk for if they don't have a privacy policy in place?
They are at risk currently for being fined, and they soon will be at risk for being sued. So several states already have laws in place that are requiring certain businesses to comply with their privacy laws, to provide specific disclosures as it meets their specific privacy laws. And you could be fined up to $7,500 per violation. And what that means is not just one time slap on the wrist, $7,500 per violation can be interpreted as per website visitor. So that is something you don't want to mess with, because that can be extraordinary. I mean, it could literally take out small businesses, which I think is a joke personally, but hey, we're here and we're trying to solve it. So the thing that people also need to be aware of is there's several states that have proposed privacy laws, like New York, for example, which will enable their citizens to sue businesses of any size, any location, just for having a contact form without a privacy policy.
Yeah, that's something you definitely don't want to mess with, because those kind of fines could bankrupt most small businesses in America once you start adding them up. So with all this some of these things already in place and some more kind of underway going through legislation now, where do you see the future of internet privacy and policies? Where do you think all of this is going?
So there's a lot of talk about, oh, once we have a federal law, everyone's good and dandy. No, that's not the case. In fact, I forget the exact name. I'm not the privacy attorney. The president of Termageddon is. She's the newsletter editor for the American Bar Association, has a whole bunch more credentials. I'm just a lowly salesperson. But there's a phrase that goes into it, but it's something along the lines of, if a state privacy law exists, and there's a less aggressive federal law, the state can enforce the more aggressive state-specific privacy law. So it's a mess, and I don't even see there being like a worldwide privacy law that would be like foundational change to how we operate as a world together. So I see things getting more complicated, not less complicated over time. And from the moment we recorded this, from today when we're recording this, in the last week, at least 3 other states have been added to the list of proposing their own unique privacy bills with their own unique penalties and their own unique disclosures that are required. I see it getting more complex in for the foreseeable future.
Yes, I agree. Unfortunately, that's the case, but luckily we have Termageddon to help solve this problem for small businesses like myself and the customers I deal with. Hans, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking the time to explain this to us today, and I appreciate all the work you guys do. We'll talk to you on the next one.
Hey, thank you so much.